The movie about the lynching that gave birth to the modern civil rights movement is now in theaters. We'll take you to the red carpet for the star-studded Los Angeles premiere. Plus, showrunners Clea Duvall and Laura Kittrell join me to talk about their new freebie series, High School. And the reporters who broke the Harvey Weinstein story are getting the film treatment. Why some are calling this a superhero story? That's all coming up on Advocate Today. Hi, and welcome to Advocate Today. I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist. The life and story of Emmett Till is now being told on the big screen through the lens of his mother, Mamie. Till is the true story of Mamie's relentless pursuit of justice for her 14-year-old son, who was lynched while visiting his cousins in Mississippi. At the LA premiere for the movie, the stars talked about the power of a mother's ability to change the world. Jalen Hall, who stars as Emmett, walked the red carpet with cast members Danielle Deadwyler, Frankie Faison, James Lawson, and Whoopi Goldberg. They were accompanied by members of the Till family and shared what it means to tell this story.
Well, the film was made from the perspective of Mamie's struggle to get justice for her son. So it wasn't really about any violence that was perpetrated against Emmett or anything like that. It was much more about Mamie's decision to use this as a moment to make it something that can benefit everyone instead of just being a personal tragedy.
We don't understand the story of how much Mamie Till loved her son. And out of that love, because this is a movie, it's a love story, and out of that love came her pursuit of justice to make sure the world could see what happened to him.
I also want them to truly understand the story of Emmett Lewis Till, because I believe that Mother Mobley, Emmett Till's mother, had the man's blueprint to their liberation when it comes to racial progression in this country. Because racial progression has only happened through the blood and the death of the black body, and unfortunately we see that continuing today.
We don't often know what the experience of the black woman in the civil rights movement is. We know Rosa Parks, and there are so many others. In fact, this is the progenitor of the civil rights movement. Everybody locates themselves in the experience of Emmett, in the loss that was incurred. And everybody locates themselves in a knowing of the strength that she had to share those images of her dear loved one, Emmett, to have the strength to persist. People don't know about the challenges that she faced as a result of his death being announced, the kinds of death threats in the mail, the terrorism that was incurred by her at the time. And so this story gets to the heart of that kind of experience and the triumph over that, and the continued triumph and the legacy of what she's doing.
So in the film, I wanted to teach love, not hate. I wanted to teach patience. I wanted to teach understanding. But I also wanted to teach that passion of you have to stand up for yourself. You have to stand up for your rights. You have to stand up for the things that you believe in. And sometimes you have to risk your life for the things that you actually believe in standing up for.
I mean, there's so much. I mean, I hope that people can think about the ways that we can get outside of our own individual bubbles and effect change that will affect the next person. And I also hope that people don't lose hope, and that even though the change we might want to see doesn't happen in our lifetime, there are things that we can do to help move things forward.
This film is very powerful. Now more than ever, these stories are important, and Till is in theaters now. There's a new streaming series that is offering flashbacks of high school, both the good and the bad. High School tells the story of out musicians Tegan and Sarah Quinn, teenage twins who are on a journey of self-discovery during the 90s. I spoke with showrunners Clea Duvall and Laura Kittrell about how the series compares to their high school experience, the use of 90s pop culture in the show, and more. I want to start with you, Laura, because I have spoken with Clea, so I want to give you the first question. And I wonder if you would share a little bit about how you came to be a part of this project and what about it resonated with you early on.
Yeah, I mean, I became aware of it, I think, when everybody became aware of it, when it was announced that it was going to exist. So it entered my life mainly through like text chains with all of my gay friends being like, oh my God, this show exists. We get to watch the show. This is great. And then maybe a year after that, my agents told me that they were looking to hire somebody on it. And I like released a noise from my body that I don't think my body has ever made before. And I was like, worst case scenario, I get to read the scripts that Clea had already written. She'd already written the first 2 episodes. And they don't hire me, but I'll have gotten to read the show that I'm excited about existing. And then I read them and I loved them. And it just is a show that I've never seen before, that I just spoke to so much about what my experience was in high school as like a kind of like outsidery alt person, but also as a queer person, and the way that I, navigated my friendships, but also my romantic relationships. And I think the queer thing of you're not really talking about it, but like you are, and like you're finding people who are feeling the same way, but none of you are saying it out loud. And like you have a friend who's also maybe your girlfriend, but like all of the stuff.
Yeah.
Really hit home with me.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. And Clea, when we talked a lot about so many things, one thing I didn't get to ask you about, you talked about the show's tone, feeling timeless, which I absolutely feel. However, there is this really amazingly curated soundtrack, and we didn't touch on that. Also, I just want to say, I feel like I caught a snippet of Heavenly Creatures. Were they watching Heavenly Creatures?
They in an early cut they were, but then we couldn't get that cleared, so we had to change it. But that that was Heavenly Creatures, my little nod to Melanie.
Yes, wonderful. But I wonder if you would talk about the soundtrack and how you arrived at that, which really does hold a place, especially for people who were coming out around the 90s.
I mean, it was very fun to be able to play in that time, because I think that's really the last time I was actively trying to discover new music in the 90s. And I still listen to all of that same music now. And I had all my favorite songs that I would sort of like envision movie scenes in my head to the songs I was listening to, and then being able to like put them into the show was really exciting. And it was really like, a combination of, bringing in some of my favorite songs, and then our editor and our music supervisor and Laura and all of us sort of talking about, what the music that really captures not only that time, but also the tone of the show. And even though like this is a show in the 90s and the music, there are a lot of very popular artists on the soundtrack, we never wanted to use their most popular song. We wanted to sort of do the deeper dive and create that opportunity for discovery still for, young audiences that, might know some Nirvana, but, don't know, the less popular songs, because I think, discovery was so much about such an exciting part of that time musically. And there was so much great music then. And so being able to bring that to the show was really fun.
Wonderful. Yeah, I had to Shazam the first song, the whole song, because I didn't know that one. So I had to look it up, but thank you. And then Laura, I wonder if you would talk a little bit about collaborating with this incredible cast and with Clea, and I'm sure with Tegan and Sarah as well, and what that journey's been for you a little bit.
I mean, with Clea, I think nightmare, I guess, is the word.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad all the time.
Yeah.
No, abusive, toxic. I think toxic is just the cleanest, simple. Yeah.
Like what you'd expect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, I mean, with Clea, I feel like, once we started talking about the show, it is maybe the easiest working relationship that I've ever had, and like the most natural. And I've seen versions of this relationship that do not work at all, of like two people who are like thrown together who've never met before. And it's like, now go make a show. It's hard to know if you're going to be compatible with a person, like just from having a 20-minute conversation and then you're hired. And it's been so natural and easy. And she's one of my closest friends, whether she wants that to be true or not now. And then, Tegan and Sarah were just so collaborative and so helpful in terms of, giving us all of the like texture of the show and the place and the people, but also like taking a step back and letting us, invent things when we needed to invent things. And the cast, I mean, Rayleigh and Season are just, the hardest working people I've ever met in my life, and are so sweet, and I'm so proud of them. And yeah.
Wonderful. And how about for you, Cleo, meeting Laura and doing this collaboration, that I didn't realize that you all weren't friends or had worked together before.
No, I also don't realize that, because it really feels like we have known each other forever. And it was, like Laura said, such an easy, just so easy. Like we just had a shorthand immediately. And before I met her, I had read something that she had written, and it was so like funny and touching and nuanced. And I loved the way that she wrote. And then meeting her, she really had the same experience with the book that I did, which I just feel like is so important. I think to be able to tell the story in the purest form, you have to connect with it in a very specific way. And I really felt that Laura did.
Thank you so much to Clea and Laura for speaking with me. You can catch the full interview on advocatechannel.com. High School is now streaming on Freevee. Lastly, today, the origins of what sparked a national reckoning around sexual harassment are being explored in a powerful new movie called She Said. Carey Mulligan and Zoe Kazan star as New York Times reporters Megan Twohey and Jodi Kantor. They broke the Harvey Weinstein story. Their work helped launch a movement for survivors of harassment. The film premiered at the New York Film Festival with the cast, crew, and members of the New York Times team in attendance. She Said pulls back the curtain on the course of events that occurred leading up to the publication of the story. It shows how Kantor and Twohey met with adversity in telling the truth, with many fearing repercussions if they went on the record. Survivors of Weinstein's abuse were silenced by him and those who helped and protected him. But the reporters began to uncover just how big the story was. The movie also highlights the brave women who stood up against their abusers and spoke out. These 3 projects highlighted in today's show illustrate that even in the face of hate and adversity, love and resilience find a way. That's all the time we have for this Advocate today. The Advocate channel is streaming now on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, and Android TV. Open it for more content and coverage. You can also download our app on your Android or Apple devices. I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist, and thank you for joining me.